difficulties.
No problem. Representative Pryor moved your bill. I understand you have an A1 author's amendment.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I do have an A1 author's amendment.
Could you just tell us briefly about that so we can get the bill in the shape you wish?
Yes, the A1 author's amendment comes from our committee discussion about this bill last year, and it exempts children who have IEPs from the language of the bill.
Okay. And so all in favor of approval of the A1 amendment, simply to put the bill in the form Representative Morrison prefers, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, so the bill, the motion passes, the amendment is added. Representative Morrison, if you can describe your bill. I think you do not have any testifiers. We have one person who signed up to testify. If you can tell us about it, and we'll go from there.
Thank you, Mr. Chair and members. House File 570 does two things. It limits the use of individual screens in publicly funded preschool or kindergarten programs without engagement from a teacher or other students. And secondly, it creates a public education campaign to educate parents on the effects of screen use on children under the age of 5. The data about the effects of excessive screen use on our youngest children is growing, and the news is not good. The American Academy of Pediatrics recommends no screens before 18 months, except for video chat, and a maximum of 1 hour a day for ages 2 to 5, and only if co-viewed with an adult. As we have discussed extensively in this committee, the brain develops rapidly in the first 5 years, and young children and babies require a relational experience for healthy brain development. They learn best by direct experiences with their senses, whole bodies, and live interaction. Screens take away from exploration, creative play, reading, talking, and singing, which are all critical for early development. Parents of young children need to be educated about not only what screen use does to a child's brain, but also about their own use of screens when in the presence of their child. JAMA Pediatrics reported in 2019 that kids under the age of 5 exposed to screens just 1 hour per day experienced cognitive decline, struggling with language and memory functioning. The early years of life are critical to brain development and the beginning of the establishment of lifelong habits. This bill creates guardrails for kids, parents, and families and encourages healthy digital habits. Thank you very much for hearing House File 570, and I'm happy to take questions.
Thank you so much. Before we do, I know that we have a testifier. So Ms. Cunningham, you can, we heard from you earlier. Please proceed with your testimony.
Thank you very much. My name is Cindy Cunningham. I am testifying for licensed child care providers in Minnesota, McPinn, and on behalf of McPinn, I'm testifying in support of House File 570, and I'm very appreciative that Representative Morrison has brought this bill forward in the process, or in the stance that it is. The pandemic's brought forth many strengths, but many weaknesses. Child care providers and centers and family child cares have been on the hands-on in much of the technology used in our educational system as it has had to take place. The use of screen time in our environments goes against what early childhood educators are taught and understand regarding education, child development, and brain development. The use of technology in education is developmentally inappropriate for our youngest. Its uses as entertainment and distraction for our youngest is harmful to development and denies a child's ability to learn from their environment. Education for hours a day, whether it's with an instructor or independently, needs parameters and direction for educators. Early childhood educators already know this. The experience during this pandemic has been unencumbered as teachers and educational systems not trained in early childhood education and teaching by technology have done their absolute best to manage through this pandemic. However, 2 to 6 hours a day in front of a screen is detrimental. Yesterday, there was a report on Zoom fatigue regarding adults. Can you imagine how our children feel? Back in the classroom, children go, they will be conditioned to be on screen and have their and their personal skills have not been fully utilized through this pandemic. Educators deserve direction and parameters to follow. There has not been any direction or parameters previously. Parents have been doing their best. Often that means having young children in front of screens so that the adult can work or attend to other matters. This dynamic goes on increasingly in our society. How many children are sitting in carts in the store with a cell phone in their hands? The screen is in place of interacting with their environment and people around them, the sights, the smells, and the sounds. All of this is what children's need, in particular are our youngest, not a screen. The APA, the World Health Organization, along with organizations like Common Sense Media, all align with a less is more approach to technology. Parents need education and support in the complex world of raising children with technology, where it has been strongly promoted and recently increasingly used for our educational needs. So it has become the norm. Please support this bill. Schools need clear parameters. Parents need educated in this process. Again, thank you, Representative, for bringing this forward.
Thank you, Ms. Cunningham. So with that, we've got a couple minutes for questions, members. To confirm, the bill does appropriate funds, and so it's going to be laid over for possible inclusion in a budget bill, just so we're clear on that. But are there questions or comments? Those on the committee last term may remember a pretty robust discussion about this proposal at that time. Looking to see if there is. And looks like there's not. And so Representative Morrison will give you a chance to give any final comments about your bill before we move on to our last bill of the day.
Thank you, Mr. Chair and members, for considering this bill. I think we've learned a lot this year, and it's very timely that this bill followed Representative Katiza-Watunes. I think there is overlap in relation to them. We need to get our youngest Minnesotans away from screens. Thanks for the consideration.
Thank you so much, Representative Morrison. And with that, the chair lays over House File 570 as amended for possible inclusion in a budget bill. And